You're listening to the On the Bounce podcast, the show that is the ultimate source for all MLS fantasy news, tips, and everything else you need to dominate your leagues. Me, I'm JK, and I'm joined as always by my two hosts, Brady and Jarvis. Together, us three make up On the Bounce, and we're here to give you the best advice we can, along with some pretty great entertainment. Now, with all this out the way, let's jump right into today's episode. Episode 11 is here, boys. Welcome On the Bounce podcast, OTB for short. I hope you guys are doing well. We're doing well. It's me. It's JK. The whole gang's back again. That's 3 episodes in a row. We're on a roll. So you know who I got with me. Brady, Gravy the Gaffer. What's going on, bub? How you doing?
Give us all the butter, because we're on a roll, lads. We're ready. Week 7. We're ready for some fantasy. It's time. Let's get it bumping.
It is time. I love it. All right. And you know who else is here? Josh Jarvis. What's going on?
You know it. How are we doing today, boys?
I'm fired
Fantastic.
up. Brady's obviously fired up. He's talking about give us all the butter because we're on a roll, so we're lit right now.
I haven't ate dinner today, so you're going to have to calm down.
Okay, so Brady, keep the food references coming.
They're coming.
We'll make him salivate.
You wouldn't like me when I'm salivating.
Maybe the fantasy takes get better the hungrier you are.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll find out this episode. So that's how we're doing, boys out there. How are you guys doing? It's Friday. It's the weekend episode. We're getting ready for the MLS kickoff. It's starting. Well, this week, it started early. We had a game Tuesday. We talked about it on our first episode. It didn't turn out how we thought. It was a 0-0 draw between DC United and Montreal Impact. Maybe it was because, it's a short week for them. They got to play a couple games in a real quick span. But it just seemed to me like neither team was really looking for a win. They were just kind of taking it easy. They didn't take a lot of shots. There wasn't a lot of passes. It was a terribly boring game to watch. You guys have anything to add to that, or do you agree with me on it?
Yeah, I mean, that 0-0, I mean, how can you have an enjoyable game when there's nothing? I mean, it sucks because we wanted the double points from 2 matches, and it's like, all right, we just got barely nothing.
It depends on who you played.
Exactly.
The other boy, Josh Jarvis, did exactly what he was calling last episode, and he slapped the captain armband on Bill Hamid. And he got the clean sheet. The defenders for both teams obviously got clean sheets. The goalie for Montreal, it was a defensive game. If you played any of those boys, you definitely got your money's worth point-wise. And like Brady said, there is another game this week for those 2 teams. So hopefully you guys played some defenders. Wayne Rooney wasn't there, so hopefully you guys didn't play him, obviously, in that game. But who knows? It is Wazza. He could go off in the one game this week he does play in. So in other news of those double match games that we were so hyped about, Colorado Rapids and Seattle Sounders were supposed to play last night on Wednesday, and of course, that got canceled due to the weather in Colorado. So hopefully you guys didn't spend all your money on all of that, but if you did, the good news is you got time to make your adjustments, you got time to make the changes, so who knows, but that's why you're listening to today's episode. The Friday episodes is when you give us. We could do that. You guys can call in and give us your advice, but today we're going to give you our advice. We're going to give you our fantasy matchups of the week from all 3 of us, the key starters that we think you need to know, and more. So, pretty much that's the breaking news. One more thing is Sporting Kansas City is playing tonight, Thursday night, as we're recording. Second leg of the CCL. It's going to be rough for them. They went down 5-0 in the first leg, so pretty much God himself would have to be the 12th man for Sporting KC to win. But they are starting their A team. I mean, all the boys are back out there, so at least they're not giving up. They're trying to make it. So we'll see what happens in that. But let's jump right into the fantasy segments and get right popping off, boys. The fantasy matchups of the week. This is a segment where we give you each one of our key matchups, team-wise, that we think is going to have great impact in fantasy this week. So, Brady, why don't you kick it off? Who's your fantasy matchup of the week?
All right, boys, the first matchup of the week that we're going to be getting into, I'm talking about the Seattle Sounders at the Toronto FC Lads, 2 of the top teams in the MLS at the moment. The 4-0-1 Seattle Sounders and the 3-0-1 Toronto FC Lads. Now, this was supposed to be Seattle's second game of the week, and we were expecting some massive fantasy production out of these Seattle boys. We were talking Lodero putting up massive points in 2 games, Jordan Morris putting up 2 games, but that game was postponed in Colorado, so it's looking like a normal week. But you still got a lot of fantasy value in this matchup. Two high-powered offenses. Raul Ruidiaz is back in the top of the lineup for Seattle, or expected to be back at least, and that's a very solid choice at striker. We also got Joey's boy, Jomo, Jordan Morris, his lad.
Big Jomo.
We got Lodero, the usual suspects, basically. But, I'm kind of shying away from the Seattle boys. Over the last 2 weeks, only one total goal. Granted, they have had 2 straight shutouts, so I might think about their defense a little bit, but I am getting a little bit worried about their offense, and I might hold off this week. But one reason to maybe shy away from Seattle entirely is this Toronto FC team is hot. They haven't scored less than 3 goals in a game this year, except for once when they scored 2. And a lot of that is due to their new breakout star, another of Joey's boys, Alejandro Pozuelo, and old staples like Josie Altidore, who's averaging 11 points in the last 2 matches. We also got sneaky starts like my guy, Nick De Leon, who's continued to ball out this year, averaging 8.5 points per game. There's a lot to be excited about at this match, and if I had to pick an outcome, I'm going to go 2-1 Toronto. I'm going to say Toronto keeps their hot streak and takes out Seattle.
I dig it. Yeah, that game's going to be very fun to watch on all angles, just MLS-wise and, of course, fantasy-wise. So I like that matchup a lot. All right, Jarvis, who's your key matchup of the week?
So for my key matchup, I'm going with the Houston Dynamo versus the San Jose Earthquakes, boys. So I don't know if anyone's noticed this, but Houston is 4th overall in the Western Conference right now, and they've played 4 games as opposed to LAFC's 6, who is in 1st, and Seattle and the Galaxy's 5, who are the 2 and 3 seed. And they've scored 10 goals, so they've been absolutely putting in the goals. And San Jose is not particularly good at defense. So I'm going to get into some specifics later, but anyone on this Houston attack I think is looking good. And not to say San Jose is just going to get steamrolled here. I think they're going to lose, but they looked really good last week actually. So I think you could get some good value out of some of those midfielders, or maybe even a striker or two if you're feeling ballsy. But I'm giving Houston the 3-1 dub here, and I think Houston's gonna have some people in the team of the week this week for fantasy.
Whoa there. All right.
I buy that 100%. And I got a guy we'll talk about later on Houston too, but we've talked about Houston and a couple of their players multiple times on the season. I feel like it's criminal how underrated this team is going. Because Jarvis just said, they got 2 games in hand on LAFC. They got 1 game in hand on most teams, and they're still sitting 4th in the West. So, I mean, they're balling out this season. So I think, I'm right there with you. 3-1 sounds about right. Now, moving on to the last key matchup of the week, that's me, and it's pretty much a matchup just like Jarvis was saying. Another team from Texas playing another terrible team on defense, FC Dallas versus the Portland Timbers. So this one's pretty simple, pretty cut and dry. Portland have been actually literally the worst defense in the league. Just see last week when they let San Jose 3-0 them. So there's that. Yeah, so Portland is actually now averaging 3 goals in a game on defense, and they have a -10 goal differential on the season. So there's that. And on the other side, FC Dallas is averaging just shy of 2 goals scored per game. So it looks like a game where Dallas could come in and just drop a ton of goals. They got a lot of players you can get for cheap. We got some guys we're going to talk about later on the show for Dallas. There's always Dallas boys on the back line that are great starters. I'm not going to name names. I don't want to steal any shine. And of course, one guy you should keep an eye out is my hidden gem from either last episode or last week's episode, Jesus Ferreira, the big striker for FC Dallas, who's still very, very cheap and should start this week. He's only $5.1 million. You have to get in on this guy if he starts, because he's going to tear that San Jose defense apart. So that is my key matchup of the week. I'm calling for a demolition job. It's going to be a good game of fantasy for FC Dallas boys.
It's large.
Now, we'll move right in to the good segment that you all need to know about. That is the key starters of the week. So this is a segment where all three of us give you 3 players each that we think have to be in your lineup this week and why. So Brady, back over to you. Kick it off. Who's your first key starter of the week?
Hey, man, I mentioned this guy earlier. I've mentioned him a bunch of times. My guy, Nick DeLeon, is going to be a great start this week. I've been harping on him all year. This is a defender who's playing forward in the attack, and this is a great asset to keep on your team. He's only had 1 goal, but he's had 3 assists this season in 4 matches, and he's averaging 8.5 points per game. They've only had 1 clean sheet in those matches, so he is the opposite of being clean sheet dependent. This guy can score fantasy points on his own. Seattle has struggled to score in its last 2 matches, and Rui Diaz might come back in the lineup with a little bit of rust. Like I said, I can see Toronto holding tough, getting a clean sheet, and I can see Nick DeLeon going nuclear this week with 20-plus points. He's rising in value like a phoenix out of the ashes, $5 million every single week this season. Only $7 million still in value, and I think that's an amazing value for someone who's been averaging more points than a lot of the top midfielders in the league. And he's got the clean sheet bonus potential, which he really hasn't even been able to take advantage of this year because they've only had 1 clean sheet. I think this guy is an automatic start in anyone's lineup. You got to throw this guy in.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely a guy. We've been talking about that all season for defenders, and it's a cheat code because Nick DeLeon's not even playing defender. He's starting on the left wing. So,
I mean, like, play defender.
No, you got to take advantage of it. $7 million is such a great value for that guy. And like you said, he's averaging 8.5 points. It's literally, you're insane if you're not playing him. So definitely get on that. I agree with Brady 100% on that one. All right, Jarvis, over to you. Who's your first key starter of the week?
My first boy of the week is going to be Edward Atuesta, I believe is how you pronounce it. I'm not good at pronouncing things, so it's probably not, but that's what I'm going to say.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Midfielder for LAFC. So he's played really well all year. He's had 6, 7, 8 points pretty much every week, which is really good. But I know we all hate to admit it, but LAFC might win by 7 this week. So
yeah, they could touchdown us.
No, but seriously, they're gonna definitely win big at home against FC Cincinnati, the new boys, our boys.
Yep.
And Atuesta is someone who's really involved in the offense, prone to get assists. As well as that clean sheet bonus, which is very possible. He's an every week starter, so nothing to worry about there. But yeah, I love him. I love the way he plays, and I think he's going to be really heavily involved. And I think there's going to be plenty of points to go around in this game for LAFC.
Yep. I'm right there with you. It's sad, but true. We got to give you the hard facts. We're going to be as unbiased as we can against this week I'm an LAFC fan, but for our FC Cincinnati boys, we're always unbiased. But yeah, I'm right there with you. It's definitely one of those weeks to stack the LAFC boys as much as you can. That's a great pick. He's been playing well. I like that. All right, moving on to my first key starter of the week. It's a guy I've talked about also, just like Brady and his boy Nick DeLeon. It is midfielder from FC Dallas, Paxton Pomykal. Now, if you guys haven't watched an FC Dallas game this year, you have to, strictly for this kid. He's going to be a U.S. men's national team, key guy for the next decade. He is just blossoming and having a great MLS season, and he's already getting comparisons to other U.S. men's national team guys like Weston McKennie for how well-rounded he is in the midfield. So Paxton's been a guy that isn't dependent on scoring goals, scoring assists, so he's a great guy, and he's averaging 6.5 points this season. Now, he's skyrocketing in value. Currently, he's up to $8.2 million, but the reason I still think he's a great start is, 1, because he's going to keep going up in value, and 2, he is playing Portland Timbers. And like I was saying earlier about FC Dallas, they are averaging almost 2 goals a game. It's all coming from that midfield, and I really think he is going to have a great game this week. He's in the top 20 scoring overall with 39 points on the season, so he really is just playing great. And like I said, he's not dependent on a goal and assist. He only has 1 goal, 1 assist on the season, but he's still averaging 6.5 points a game. So get on him, Paxton Pomykal, PP on Swole for FC Dallas. Get him in your lineup this week, boys. Trust me on it. Trust me. That's his new nickname, if you didn't know. Shout out Paxton. Hit me up on Twitter, bub. I'll give you that license for free. All right, Brady, back to you. Who's your second key starter of the week?
All right, lads, I'm going to give you a new guy that I haven't talked about this year. Johnny Russell is my next choice. A man who has been nothing but consistent this season on the Sporting KC team. He's a cog in this offense, and he's essential in their attack. He's got 3 goals, 2 assists thus far. He's not benefited from a ton of bonus points this season, but he is someone who has a great floor and is very consistent. He's going to get you 6 to 8 every single week, no matter what. And there's some breakout potential. He did have 17 points 2 weeks ago when Sporting KC dropped 7 on Montreal. I like this as a yeah.
That's a good one.
Maybe a little bit of an outlier, but I like this as a safe play and a solid value play as well. He's going up in value every single week. I think he's a definite choice to go up another 0.5 mil. He's still only 10.3 mil, which is honestly a steal. Just like I was saying with De Leon, it's a steal against other midfielders like Lodero, Diego Valeri, guys like that who have been inconsistent this season, and I see continuing to be inconsistent. Johnny Russell, I think, is an amazing play this week. They are against the Red Bulls, who have kind of struggled, and I'm taking Johnny Russell this week. I think you do have to watch. They do play in the CCL this week, so you do have to watch for lineups. But I think if he does get the start, he's going to be a great start.
Yeah, that was the only thing I'm going to add to that. Currently, right now, he was in the starting 11 for the CCL, but their game is Sunday night, so he will have 2 full days of rest. So just like Brady said, keep an eye on that.
Keep an eye. Yeah.
But I like that because the Red Bulls is a good matchup to go up against, and Sporting's at home, which is like a fortress for them. So that's a big one. I like it. All right, Jarvis, over to you. Who's your second key starter of the week?
I have a love affair with my boys at FC Dallas.
I know it.
And the big Ziegler is no outlier to this. Rito Ziegler has played really, really well this year for sure. Got a lot of fantasy points. And he always has that ability to score a goal for whatever reason. He's always
that pin
involved.
Taker boy.
Yeah, for whatever reason, he seems to be the penalty taker, which is extremely odd and not something you can rely on, but a fun little bonus for you.
Yeah.
They play Portland this week, and I think, like you were saying earlier, I think a clean sheet is in order here. It certainly is not going to shock me if FC Dallas is able to get a clean sheet here, and that's pretty much enough to carry any defender in fantasy. That's what you're looking for out of them. And with that goal potential with him, the way they've been playing, I think he's a no-brain start this week for sure.
Yep, I love that a lot. That's the person I was not trying to name earlier in my key matchup of the week. I was like, Ziegler, and of course your other boy, Matt Hedges on the back line. Yeah. That's a great partnership this week if you want to stack them, because that's definitely clean sheet worthy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, and Ziegler's another guy, when I was doing my Paxton write-up this morning, Ziegler and him are actually just 1 point apart, and Ziegler's number 20 overall in scoring. So they're way up there in overall scoring, which is insane for a defender. But that seems to be a trend this year. So sticking on that, talking about another defender, my second key starter of the week is Steven Beitashour. This is a guy Jarvis brought up, I think, just last episode for Hidden Gems.
Yeah.
He is a defender for LAFC. And speaking of Jarvis, just like he said, they are playing against FC Cincinnati this week in LA. So I kind of have to imagine this is going to be a game where LAFC continues the clean sheets. They've had 2 clean sheets in a row, and during that span, Steven Beitashour has averaged 13 points. So he is absolutely going off. I know it's because of the clean sheets, but he also has a goal and an assist in those last 2 weeks. The crazy part is he's only 6.7 million. Just like Jarvis was saying in the Hidden Gem segment, I loved him so much. I'm making him a key starter because he's such a good value, 6.7 mil. He's probably going to get that clean sheet. And I mean, LAFC over the last 2 weeks has outscored their opponents 9-0. So, come on. It's simple. You just got to stack all the LAFC boys you can. And I think Steven Beitashour is one that you have to get because of that value alone. So that's my second key starter of the week. Brady, back to you for your third.
I'm going to piggyback off of you, both of you guys, really, with the LAFC three-peat here.
Here's your stack, boys.
We're going with Christian Ramirez as a gem, a true key starter and gem. Facts. Only 6.3 million in value for a striker starter who is on the most potent offensive attack. As Joey said, 9 goals in the last 2 matches, top scoring team in the league. last week against the best defensive team in the MLS at that point. I mean, at this point, Christian Ramirez has not been super consistent. He hasn't played a lot this year, but it's such a good value. I couldn't gloss over this episode.
Yeah.
6.3 million for the starting striker against a mid to low tier-ish defense, FCC at home. I mean, this is amazing value. 1 goal, 1 assist on the year. Hasn't played more than 60 minutes in a single game. But pay attention to these lineups on the weekend, and you never know, this man can get a full 90. I think he's definitely going to play no matter what. I think he's also a great option to throw on your bench as a switcheroo option if you've got, Vea, some other guys in your forward lineup that you're not willing to pivot off of. But this is a great option. This cat is going to put in a goal this week, I think, and at an amazing value, and he's gonna skyrocket in his value.
I dig it. Yeah. Just like you said, at the least, get him on your bench because he's so cheap. And if he has a good game, you're going to make bank off of him, even if he's on your bench. So That's a great play. And it's a cheat code. He's playing LAFC. He's playing FC Cincinnati. Come on now. It's sad to say, but you got to stack your LAFC boys this week as much as you can. All right, Jarvis, back to you for your third and final key starter of the week. Hit us with it.
All right, so this next key starter is big Albert Ellis, boys. And I struggled. I thought I was going to make him my captain's pick, but I decided against it. But that being said, so the first 2 weeks of the season, Albert Ellis was non-existent.
Facts.
Yeah. He played the full 90 in the first week, did nothing. The next week, I think he came in as a sub, didn't really do much. But the last 2 weeks in fantasies had 19 and 13 points. Three total assists, 2 total goals, and they're playing San Jose this week. And Albert is extremely talented. It would truthfully shock me if he didn't get in on this scoring opportunity this week. I think he's going to be running a absolute checkup on these boys. Look out for a goal and an assist from him.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And the crazy part is, just like you said earlier about Houston's only played 4 games, he's only played 4 games fantasy, and he's literally hovering around 25th overall scoring thanks to those last 2 weeks where he's just going off.
Yeah, and in the first 2 weeks, he had 3 total combined fantasy points.
Yeah, like, it's insane how much he's just popped, and I'm right there with you. I think he's going to just continue it this week against the really good defense they're playing. So back over to my third and final key starter of the week. It's another guy from Houston, and that is, did you get the memo, Rodriguez? That boy has been balling all season. Now, he's a midfielder that's only going for $6.1 million, and I don't know why. I feel like he's super underrated, just like Houston. He's played 4 goals, or I'm sorry, I just spoiled the fun. I'm pissed. He's played 4 games. Guys, listen, how many goals do you think he scored in those 4 games? Take a guess. A wild guess.
7.
You're right. You nailed it. So he's played 4 games, only 198 total minutes, and 4 goals. So literally, he has been popping. And if you missed his goal back in week 3, dear God, it was an absolute missile from outside the box. He's got explosive range. He's a great midfield option. He plays way up in the attack of midfield like a 10, but he is like a shadow striker. He's always looking to score. Him and Albert Ellis this week, I think, are going to be absolute nightmares for San Jose's defense. And I think you got to get in on Memo. They're a team just like LAFC this week. You could definitely stack 3 players and make sure you have them all out there. Did you get the memo, Rodriguez? I hope you did. I hope you got the memo. I want you to get the memo. So there are our 9 key starters of the week. Hopefully you guys like those. If you did or you didn't, if you agreed or disagree, hit us up on Twitter at OTBounce. Let us know. Let us know if you liked them, hated them, or if you got some other ones for us, because we could use the help sometimes. But now moving into the last segment of the week, that is the Captain's Log. So it's finally here again. We're going to give you our Captain's Pick of the Week. And I'm going to jump ahead and go first because mine is super short and simple. And it's really annoying that I'm doing this, but I have to do it. Literally, I have to let you know who to pick. It's literally Captain Carlos. Shock and awe. Literally, what? I know you guys just passed out like, what do you mean? Who is this? Who are you picking? Who's this dark horse captain of the week? But it's for every reason we've said. They're playing at home against FC Cincinnati, and Carlos is literally so far ahead of everyone in overall fantasy scoring, it doesn't matter. He's up 21 points on Diego Rossi, who's his teammate, in second points overall. So that's it. Captain him. Literally just sit back and relax and watch him go off for like 40 points this week.
His
again.
coach, Bob Bradley, compared him to Lionel Messi.
Dog, he literally said, "You're MLS Messi. Show
And
them
he is.
why." And
He's
he
like,
said,
"All right,
okay,
I'm doing
you got it." Yeah. And he said, "I'm the number 10 now. Give me it. It's easy work." So that's my captain of the week. I know it's surprising. I know it's what you guys subscribe for. Crazy hot takes over here, boys. So Brady, now kick it off. Give him a hot take captain of the week.
All right,
I know
boys. So we've been harping on you for a few big matchups like Dallas, LAFC, Toronto, and Seattle. But I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a different play. It's not someone who you're haven't been thinking of. This is a guy who's been near and dear to our heart this season. I'm talking about Carlos Darwin Quintero. My guy did miss the last game, and Gaffer said he's going to get all the time that he needs to recover, but we're hearing reports that he's probably going to play this week. And I think if he does, he's going to be a great captain's choice. The man was truly dominant in the first 2 games of the season, dropping 18 points and then 11 points. On the season, he's got 3 goals, 3 assists, even though they're matching up against NYFC, who has been decent on defense this season, bad on offense, decent on defense. I think Minnesota is going to gang up on these men and take him down. I feel like Quintero is a great captain's choice. NYFC gave up 4 to Toronto, and I think Quintero can give them trouble just like Pozo gave them trouble in that game where they smashed them 4-0. This game is also at home, and it's actually their first official home opener in their brand new stadium, so there might be some extra motivation there to put on a show for the fans. I'm really feeling Carlos Quintero, Darwin Quintero this week. I think he's a great option. He's going to get you some goals, some assists, some bonus points. He's going to knock it up. He's going to knock it all in. He's going to get you some points.
I dig it. I knew you had a hot take coming out of the captain's log this week. I love it. I mean, it's a hot take because I feel like people forgot about him randomly. Like, they just glossed over him again, but I like that pick a lot. All right, Jarvis, back to you. Finish it out with the captain's log. Who you got this week, mate?
I've got about as hot of a take as Joey had with big Ibrahimovic this week.
Who?
I never heard of him.
They're playing Philadelphia, who is a fairly average team, but it's irrelevant because it's Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and he does what he wants and scores when he wants. He's played 3 games this year. He has 4 goals. He's going to score. It's really that simple. Like Carlos Vela, they're just so talented, so much more drastically talented than the teams they're facing. They're just it's impossible not to highlight them every week in the captain's log. Zlatan is he's gonna score, so that's a thing. And if you want those points, captain him.
You have to do it. There's not really much debate to that. That's just simple. It's just like Carlos, like you said. You got to go for
truthfully.
it. So there are our captain's picks.
I would like to say that I would have chosen Lodero this week if he had 2 games, but I went with Quintero because of that.
For sure.
That 1 game option. So
if we were doing this on Tuesday, I would have chosen Bill Hamid, but
and you did.
Else, I mean.
And that's not a bad choice at all because he's could get 2 clean sheets, which would literally be gigantic.
That'd be so big.
He has 7 points so far. So
300 IQ. 300 IQ.
Yeah.
be Josh Jarvis.
Jarvis is walking around with a 5 head right now, boys. He is big braining it. So that brings us to the outro. Real quick before we wrap it up, any other remarks or anything we forgot that you guys want to mention before we close this out?
I always ask, and I'm afraid to, but I gotta ask. Score prediction for FC Cincinnati.
No.
Okay.
No. You should have forgotten this one. I'll say, God, I really hope we don't get shut out. I know it's probably not going to be the case, but in my heart, I feel 4-1 loss, but it could realistically be like 4 or 5-0.
Guys, I'm about to shock the world and set it on fire with this hot take. FC Cincinnati is going to march to Los Angeles and lose 3-0. And I'm going to party in the streets about it.
Oh yeah, literally, if we lose less than 2, I'll freak out.
Yeah,
I'll say 3-0.
I'll get Alan Koch tattooed on my chest if that happens.
100%. One huge cock on
Literally
your chest.
mega
Make it
cock.
hot. Yeah, just how Jarvis likes his cockles.
I got a little update on one of our bettables from a few weeks ago.
Okay.
So, me and Jelly the Donut Rizzo, aka Joey, made a wager on Spencer Ritchie and Brian Rowe.
Oh my God, we were like kids when we made that bet.
hasn't looked too good for either of us. Brian Rowe has 4 points over those 2 weeks, and Richie has 6. So averaging
Nice.
2 points and 3 points per game.
Who's the winner?
Yeah,
here?
next. Well, it's got one more. It's got
Neither.
one more week, so maybe one of us will kind of look okay. But so far, it's just a bad overall choice from everyone.
Oh, here's
We
the
owe a
bad
Red Bull
news.
to our fans for that.
Yeah, I was about to say, here's the bad news. It's pretty much going to be null and void because I have a hot take. TT's for sure going to start in LA Saturday. Like 100%.
That's good for you because if he
100%.
wasn't, you'd probably lose 5 points.
Yeah. So I think what'll happen is me and Brady will probably buy ourselves
Yeah.
a bowl after TT comes back and starts.
That was one of the that was one of the
So-
conditions that they had to start. So
Yeah, I bet TT does end up starting Saturday
Okay.
because he got cleared, and I bet they switch it up just because. Like, why not?
hasn't been too hot.
Put him against LAFC
Imagine.
and then start Spencer immediately next week.
Dude.
I was just about to
Poor
say,
TT.
imagine his first game of the season was away at Seattle, who hung 4, and then he could play again at LAFC and get hung for like 7.
The poor guy.
That's so mean.
I'd quit.
The
I'd
poor
walk out. I'd be like, all right,
I'm
dog.
going back to Russia.
He said, I'm going to go play Messi again.
that's so
Screw
good.
this.
Yeah, he said, I could save Messi, but I can't save Carlos
No.
Vela. What do you want me to do here? I'm not God. All right, so now staying on the topic and the Taki. Shout out to Taki's, our future sponsor. But as we're talking about FC Cincinnati, if you guys have listened, you know that's our team. And I want to give a special shout out over to our boys over at CST, Cincinnati Soccer Talk. They are a great little blog, fan ran for FC Cincinnati. If you want to check them out, it's over CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. They have a really cool podcast every week where they do a March to Match Day, where they talk about the upcoming game, and we actually have a cool little fantasy segment during those episodes. So if you want to check it out, if you're a fan of FC Cincinnati, or you're just kind of, intrigued on that whole movement, go check those guys out. They got great stuff. And like I said, you'll hear your boys OTB in the middle of their podcast for some fantasy gems. Some extra fantasy points, which everybody needs. So shout out to them bigly. And I think that'll do it for today's episode. Once again, make sure you're following us over on Twitter at OTBounce, over on our website, otbounce.com, and make sure you check out this podcast that you're listening to on iTunes, Spotify, and Podbean. Listen on all 3. Run our checkup for us, boys. Follow us on all 3 and help us out. That would be greatly appreciated. But thank you all, seriously, to whoever's listening, whoever's out there, wherever you are. Shout out to you big time. It's been fun. We're 11 episodes deep. And next episode, we got the Hot 12 like Tom Brady. So it's going to be fire. So that'll do it for me, JK, Big Baby Jarvis, Gravy the Gaffer, a.k.a.
Yo.
Brady. We will see you guys back here Tuesday after MLS Week 7. Deuces.
Shout out to Saudi Arabia.